Over the last few years, I've read a few books to try and help me understand the current cultural, social, political landscape in America. I think this probably started about 2016 when I was like, what is going on out there? One short book that I really enjoyed, and I actually read the book twice, which is unusual for me. I usually don't read things twice, but this book by Alan Jacobs, and the book is called How to Think. And early on in the book, he introduces a term that I had not heard. It's the phrase, the repugnant cultural other. He shortens it to RCO. The RCO, the repugnant cultural other. When I read about that, it really put some language around something that I observed in our culture. We live in a culture that claims to value openness, tolerance, diversity, inclusion, non-judgmentalism, all that kind of stuff. But in practice, I think even the most tolerant people are really tolerant of the people who think like them. And they appreciate diversity only as so far as the diversity does not bring in somebody who radically disagrees with me or stands in an opposite place than I do. The repugnant cultural other is the person then that falls into the opposite camp of you on whatever kind of issue it is. So for conservatives, the repugnant cultural other are the liberals, because they're ruining society. They're trying to get us to progress to some utopia that's not realistic. Those darn liberals, they're gonna ruin everything. They're gonna make us communists. For liberals, the conservatives are the repugnant cultural other. They're the ones who are blocking all progress. They're not helping. They're stuck in the mud. They're not helping us make a better society. They're sleeping while the rest of us are woke. So you see that kind of thing in culture, and you see it all over the place. For the Christian, the RCO is the atheist who wants to stamp out religion. For the atheist, the RCO is the Christian who's a backwoods, gun-toting, anti-science kind of person, that evangelical. The RCO could be the pro-life people. It could be the pro-choice people. It could be the people who favor traditional marriage, or it could be the people who are in favor of gay marriage. It could be, right now, the RCO could be the person in the mask in the grocery store, and they're wearing a mask because they really love people but they hate freedom. Or it could be the person who doesn't wear a mask in the grocery store and they're not wearing a mask because they love freedom and they hate people. It's weird, and it's so easy for us to put people into that other category of like, those people over there are the problem with the world. And I think it's all a little bit nutty. And to quote Kanye West, it ain't Christ-like. So I wanted us to think through maybe a different way of seeing people who are different than us. When I read the Gospels, I see Jesus identifying with the RCOs. He's identifying with those people that were repugnant in their day, the people who were tax collectors, people who were prostitutes, the Gentiles, the people that just fit in the margins more. Jesus is spending time with them, loving them, serving them. He hangs out most of his life with, a group of rednecks, basically, from the Galilee region of northern Israel. Not like elite, savvy city people, but these sort of country bumpkin kind of people. And that's who Jesus spends most of his time with. I think Jesus elevates and respects some of those cultural groups in ways that we don't. He elevated women in his day in the way that the dominant culture was not elevating women. He was kind and gracious to Gentiles, which is the group of people that his own people, the Jews, would have referred to as the dogs. There was a race problem, a race issue between the Jews and the Gentiles, and Jesus honors Gentiles and shows love to them as well. The thing that I think Jesus demonstrated for us and then teaches us about is that really what we're supposed to do is to love our neighbors, to love well the people that are around us. And it's sure hard to love your neighbor well when you hate them. It's sure hard to love neighbors well when they are other than you, when they are repugnant to you in some way. And so I think the challenge for us right now is to resist. The challenge is to resist, and I think it's been highlighted during this shelter-at-home time because everybody's under pressure. Everybody's feeling some tension. And the challenge for us is to resist otherizing or demonizing a certain group of people and saying and avoiding the simple narrative that says those people over there are what's wrong with this country, with this world, with whatever. To avoid that kind of thing in our own hearts, we have to resist that, because you won't love people if you don't see people as people. You have to really see who they are. And that's a challenge for us. You'll not love people that you think are different than you. You will not love people who you are suspicious of. So how can we do that? How can we practically love well during this time? And especially, how can we resist the temptation to otherize people and say, oh, they're the RCO in the world? Two suggestions I would have. One's related to social media, and one is just in your own personal prayer life. Number one, you know how they say don't go to the grocery store when you're hungry? Because if you're really hungry, you're going to make a lot of bad food choices. I would suggest that you notice in yourself the moments when you're fearful or angry, and in those moments, don't go to your keyboard. Don't get behind the keyboard on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Don't go there when you're fearful or angry, because what's likely to flow out of your heart, mind, and through your fingertips is not going to be helpful, and it'll tend towards otherizing people and making whatever group the problem. So notice when you're feeling angry and fearful, and just like when you're really hungry and you might want to be tempted to go for the wrong kind of food, when you're angry and fearful, don't necessarily grab your keyboard in that moment. And the second thing I would suggest in this is to pray for your enemies. Pray for people that might feel other to you. Pray for the people that you think are icky or something that you're uncomfortable around. Jesus tells us to love our neighbors and pray for our enemies, which means there are going to be people that don't like you, maybe you don't naturally like. We're called to pray for those people. I think if you can consistently pray for someone, it softens your heart towards them. The temptation will be to not love the people Jesus calls us to love, but if we can pray for them, I think that softens us. And I think that's going to help us through this time, as everybody's feeling the pressure to pray for the other and love them, and in doing so, try to love them well. That's what I got for this week. If you are a part of Area 10 Faith Community, stay tuned to early next week. We will have an announcement about us gathering together physically. We've been gathering online, but we're talking, having a lot of conversations with and looking at what the governor's saying and all of that. We're kind of looking at all the factors and trying to figure out when we'll gather together. We'll give you as much of an update on that as we can early next week. So until then, take care. Hope to see you on YouTube with us on Sunday morning. God bless.